So welcome. My name is Sam Wheatley. This is my business partner, Dylan Bose. Today, we're presenting on 3 mind shifts that you need to understand before adopting AI. In our work with nonprofits, with startups, with businesses, one of the perpetual things we keep hearing over and over again is, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know where to start. And this is really the first place to start, is not by learning a new technology, not by going on and signing up for some streaming service, but instead to start framing what it is that AI does for you and can do for you. And so that's where we're going to lead this conversation today, is from the perspective of, here are 3 clear ways that unlock for you the benefits of AI and help you face the challenge of the overwhelm in a more confident manner. Is that a good summary, Dylan?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, at the end, as Sam said, put your questions in the chat. We'll do some Q&A at the end. We'll try to keep this as short as possible, to 30 or 45 minutes or something like that. But we really believe that at the end of this webinar, you will feel empowered, excited, ready to go. Start this on Monday. It's a Friday, so maybe don't start it today, but maybe on Monday you can start picking this up. And so at the end of this free webinar, you'll be ready to go. And if you want to include us in that journey of getting started, we're going to show you some ways that we can help. But if this is all you take away from it, like our goal here is to empower folks to use AI and make their lives and work better. So that's what we're going to do here. So thanks so much for joining. But yeah, I think we're ready to move on. So this is the agenda for today. So we're just going to do a quick short introduction, and then we're going to explain the 3 mind shifts. We're going to talk about how to get started, and we'll close it up. Again, we'll try to keep it short. Put your questions in the chat if you have them, and then we'll be following up with an email afterwards. So if you don't have a question that we get to today, we can pick it up again later. So I thought we could start with just the general sense that AI is an opportunity and it is not a threat. So as Sam said, something that happens all the time is we talk to people and they say, I know that I want to use this, but I'm feeling overwhelmed by all the talk about AI and all the different words and the different platforms and stuff like that. And we totally get that. We're pretty obsessed with this stuff and we follow it pretty closely, and I feel overwhelmed. So that is totally, totally understandable. And so a big part of what we do is we try to break everything down into non-jargon, bite-sized, easy to understand, normal people talk. So that's what we're going to do here. And so I just wanted to validate that concern. A lot of people think, but I'm not a tech person and I don't, I'm not a coder, I'm not a developer. I don't know how to do artificial intelligence. You don't need to be a tech person to get started with it.
Yeah, neither Dylan or myself have sort of a coder technical background. Yep. We got into this to underscore that AI is an opportunity. We began this journey because at our nonprofit we were working at, we had 2 people leave our team and left a huge hole. And we had to lean into ways to fill that hole very quickly in order to scale an online product we were developing. And so that was right at the same time that ChatGPT launched its sort of public interface. And we jumped right in and leaned in hard, and we're able to learn as we went and sort of build out step by step in order to get to a place where we feel like we really now understand how to integrate AI. And I think it was that attitude of curiosity and, frankly, some desperation that got us to see AI was an opportunity.
Curiosity and desperation make for a good team. That's a good team. Yeah, absolutely. And so you all can learn from our stumbling steps over a year of getting to know this stuff, and that's kind of why we started this. So Two other concerns that we hear from people sometimes is like, I want to be in control. I don't want the machines to take over my work. And that is not what we advocate at all. So we advocate for more human and more creativity, more strategic thinking, but we don't want the machines to just do our work for you. So we don't advocate any of that. Like, you're in control.
Right.
And then finally, does this threaten my role as a leader or as a worker or as a person in general? You know, it can sometimes feel like AI is maybe encroaching on the work that you do. But again, what we're trying to do with these three mind shifts is to suggest a way of looking at it as an opportunity to lean into the work that you do that is most life-giving to you, you know, and sort of like streamline and automate some of the other parts that maybe don't give you life, like spreadsheets. For me, does not give me life. So I use it a lot for that kind of thing. So
Right.
yeah.
So what's the first mindset shift that we need to think about, Dylan?
Yeah, so I'll walk through the three of them. We'll just give a quick rundown of the three. They're not a secret, but we'll go through one by one. So number one is smart is no longer special.
But everybody's special, Dylan.
Yeah, everybody is special. That's right. You and I are only children, so we're definitely special. And then number two is time is decoupled from value. Number three is if you can dream it, you can build it.
Great.
Hopefully those three are slightly provocative, and but I think when we bring each one home, you all will see where we're coming with that. So let's focus on number one first. So smart is no longer special. As Sam said, you know, everybody's special to somebody. But what we're talking about here is in the marketplace when it comes to work. So for a long time, maybe since the beginning of time, what you knew had a lot to do with how valuable you were in the marketplace, and we see that sort of shifting. So, and I just listed some of the technology elements here, like generative AI and chatbots, research assistants, AI-powered writing assistants. This is the kind of category that probably a lot of you listening or watching have experimented with. Like, wow, I can research things really easily, and I can use it to write an email super quickly and super efficiently, and it sounds great. So that's probably where most people have entered into AI. But let's dig in a little bit deeper to what we mean by this smart is no longer special.
And it's also important to realize that a lot of AI is being built or baked into a lot of the products you've already been using. Mm-hmm. For example, like if you've taken a picture on a smartphone, yeah, AI has been baked into that process for quite a number of years now. We just didn't call it that or know it. And so a lot of AI is already operating in the background.
That's a perfect example, because in order to take a great photo, previous to some of this computer assisted stuff on these new phones, like you had to really know how to dial in your camera, you know, and I don't know how to do that, but I can like just point and shoot. And so that specialization changes in terms of what the technology allows the rest of us to do. So let's go back here. So for centuries, intelligence was a competitive advantage. But these AI tools are now compressing this knowledge work into seconds, minutes, you know, sometimes even seconds. And so intelligence is now abundant and accessible. Yep. So the advantage is less about what you know and is more about how you apply it.
Yeah, this is so powerful and important to underscore. One of the things I quip oftentimes is this is an era for the classics, for people who studied philosophy, psychology, who understand how humans reason, rhetoric. So if you're from the liberal arts, this is your moment because you've been trained in how to think and apply things well. And this is exactly what AI is offering a lot of us, is the ability to not have to delve into a particular line of understanding or profession in order to then do something that we wanted to learn the thing in the first place for. We can just jump to the doing.
Yeah, exactly. You can add and plug in these very niche expertise to the work that you're doing, so you're not constantly running up against roadblocks. Now what that does though is it democratizes that knowledge, so anybody can access it, but not everybody can apply it strategically.
That's right.
So creativity, critical thinking, and judgment are now really what set you apart.
Yeah, that's so good. That's a great insight.
And so what does this mind shift mean for nonprofits and startups? So one example is AI can handle research, analysis, and content creation for you. Instead of spending hours drafting a donor report or marketing copy, AI can generate a high-quality first draft in seconds, allowing you to focus on fine-tuning the message.
Yep.
This is just an example of how to sort of use that knowledge acquisition to get to that first draft so much faster. This is something we talk about all the time, and then you can really spend your time on the higher value task of tweaking it, fine-tuning it, looking at the bigger picture of those types of things.
Yeah, I mean, it really gets you on like first or second base very rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
But then that's where the irreducibly human part of you, the judgment, the critical reasoning, the analysis kicks in, and you're able to spend your effort and your time allocated to that task on the refinement stage, which is oftentimes, just to be frank, in nonprofit and startup work, like the 5 minutes before you stand up to give the presentation or pitch.
Yeah.
This is giving you're saving the time on the front end, not just to waste it, but to redeploy it on the back end with the things that you uniquely bring to the task.
Absolutely. And thinking critically, making judgment calls. So this is a great way of looking at this too. Like, AI can give you quick answers, but you have to know how to ask the right questions. So being able to ask those questions and then apply the answers strategically, that's how you have the edge. So,
right.
Okay, so we're being sort of cute with saying smart is no longer special, but what we mean by that is that acquiring the knowledge is now simple and anyone can do it. So what you know doesn't set you apart, but how you apply it and how you think strategically and creatively, that is what's going to really set you apart going forward. So the key takeaway for this is knowing things is not enough anymore. Your value comes from your judgment, creativity, and how you apply AI to solve problems. This is the key takeaway from Mindshift 1. Anything to add there, Sam?
No, I think we covered it. What's number 2?
Number 2 is time is decoupled from value.
This is a hard one.
Yeah, we'll dig into it, but the technology tie-in here are some of these automation tools, or what are called no code or low code tools that can streamline tasks. But let's dig in a little bit more here. So time is decoupled from value means that the value that your work has is no longer connected to the time that it takes to perform a task.
Yep.
And so for many of us, the work that you do and the value that you brought was tied into your value, to your time. And like I've worked a lot as a contractor, and you bill by the hour. So it's like doing this task used to take me 4 hours, but what happens when now I can do it in 4 minutes?
Yeah.
Does that change the value of what I'm doing? And not to me, and not to the client, but now I'm not spending the same amount of time doing it.
Yeah, this is really underscoring the productivity gains of AI.
Yeah.
Is that one person or a small team is able to do vastly more output than previous. And that was our experience again, working with a team of 5 people. We were able to really produce the quality and content of a much, much larger team because we were deploying these AI tools and looking for outputs, not just hours spent.
Right. Absolutely. Because we can automate repetitive tasks.
Yep.
And so that makes the time that is spent irrelevant to the value. I'm not, and again, we're not speaking about your value to yourself or your loved ones, but I'm saying in the marketplace.
You're still special. Don't worry.
Exactly. But in terms of how we think about the work that we do. And, this is something we've talked a lot about too. Like it's a change in how you sort of show up for work every day, because it's like, if I just did a task that took me 5 minutes that used to take me all day to do, how am I supposed to think about that? Like now do I just take a long lunch break, or do I do more work, or these types of things? It's you have to start to think that way because it's not obvious. We're adjusting to how that goes. And like there were plenty of times where you could sort of lean on, oh, this is taking me forever. I'm so busy. I'm really working a lot. I'm being super productive because this is taking a long time. And I think that's changing a lot.
So Josh is asking, how do we lead our teams through a mindset shift? I think one is technically as a manager, one of the things I had to shift from is moving from, our team was remote, so all across the country. And so I had to, just because of that, start managing by objectives or KPIs or outcomes instead of just observing somebody showing up at the office every day at the right time. And so that forced me as a manager to be much more thoughtful about what is the outcome that I need from this project?
Right.
What is the timeline? When do I need it by? How does this stage for somebody else's role? Having the person think about, okay, you did this one time. How do you do it again from a different perspective? I call it do one, see one, do one, teach one. When you do a task, you do it in order to teach it to somebody else the next time. And then you teach it to somebody else the next time in order to then you see it, then you perform it, then you teach it. And so I've kind of joked that it's sort of see one, do one, automate one.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And so that was part of the leadership, is just also the other thing is having fun with it. Our team had a really good sense of humor, and we were just sharing things and talking about it, had a sense of curiosity. Nobody felt like they were going to lose their jobs. We took that off the table. It's like, hey, we need this, and how do we help each other out learning? And so one person would learn some new skill, and then during our team meetings, we'd have a teaching time, and that person, whoever it was on the team, would teach the rest of us how to do that thing they had just learned to do.
And I was going to say something this reminded me of, but it's like, if there's a positive twist to the time being decoupled from value too, which is like, you can waste time. Yep. You can waste time. You can go on rabbit trails, and dead ends are no longer this nightmare where you've wasted hours pursuing something that didn't end up being fruitful, because you're not wasting hours. You're wasting maybe minutes wasting, you know what I'm saying? So you can go down these trails to sort of explore new ideas with less of a risk. And so to Josh's question, like that's one way to excite your team too, is be like, go try some things, like there's not going to be a punishment for trying stuff that fails. It's okay to fail.
I mean, what Dylan's talking about is, I mean, we have a podcast called AI for Good. It's available on any platform. This is where we talk about a lot of these topics in depth. And so, Josh, as you can see, if you ask us a question, we're going to get excited about it. But really, the key insight to AI is that it's pattern recognition plus rapid iteration. Mm-hmm. And so it helps you spot patterns that you would miss and then iterate those ideas, that mind game of like, where could this go, in very quick and rapid iteration stages so that you can suss out whether this is a fruitful line of thought or not.
Exactly.
All right, I'll let you get back on track, Dylan.
Let's do it. It's okay. So what does this mean for nonprofits and startups? It means you can eliminate repetitive work. So these are some examples, but basically, if time is decoupled from value, that means you're not giving away your value to time-intensive tasks. So you can retain your value, pour it into those things that are maybe more creative, strategic, and more, and have a higher impact. And also, maybe think about pricing work based on time. Like that's going to be just something to think about. I don't know. I just don't have the answer to that exactly. But if you're using AI tools, and it's just going to be saving you so much time, you just have to think about what happens there.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So the key takeaway for mind shift number 2 is that time spent on a task no longer determines its value, outcomes do. So now we're on to number 3.
Yeah.
Let's do it. If you can dream it, you can build it. So the technology tie-in here is AI-assisted development environments. Talk more about what that means. No-code app builders, things like that. Basically, what we mean by this is that coming up with and deploying technological software solutions is no longer reserved for the elite developer group. Yeah. It really kind of was a situation where if you had a problem that needed to be solved by technology, you either A, had to hire a developer to do it, or B, you would have to sign up for and be locked into one of these sort of big heavy hitters that maybe probably didn't know your specific use cases for your business or your organization. And then, like, in order for them to justify their monthly fees, they're asking for all these, they're giving you all this other benefits that your company doesn't need, And everybody has experienced that. So it's like, but yeah, I need this.
Not naming names, but almost every big company out there is a bundle of all these enormous things, which I call marbles in a bag. There's lots of little marbles in this bag of stuff that they provide for an exorbitant fee per month per seat. And you maybe only use 3 marbles in that bag.
Yep.
And so,
but you're paying for the whole bag.
But you're paying for the whole bag of marbles. What Dylan is saying here is so radically important, because what this means is, like, you can just pick out the 3 marbles you need, and with no code or low code, create the app to your specifications.
Yep, exactly. It's like in our organization, we need to have a workflow that onboards a new volunteer, but it's this certain way that we, train them. And so we want it to be connected to the videos that we have. And then we want to be able to email them. But so we don't need to have a CRM and, an email client and all this stuff. Like, you can just sort of build your own system that works for what you're doing, that you can change over time. I mean, that's part of the huge thing too, is like, you don't have to get stuck with it when your needs change and evolve.
That's why it's a mindset shift, right?
Exactly.
Like, the tools are out there, and we can, tell you the tools, and we're happy to do that. But it really is
Yeah.
this shift of like, if I can dream it, I can probably build it. Like Dylan
Yeah.
had a calculator that he needed for repetitive tasks.
Yeah.
And instead of keep going to Google, keep going to the calculator, he just built his own little plugin
Yep.
that did the calculation.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've seen people build like a dashboard for like a mechanics. Mechanics have very specific things that they're trying to measure in terms of the clients and
Right.
the services that they're doing. And like you can create a dashboard that the mechanic can interact with so that they're only measuring the things that they care about.
Right.
And when I say build it, I mean like literally just the way that you go onto Chat GPT and ask it to write an email. You can go onto these platforms and tell it to build an app for you with natural language, and it will do it for you. And so,
yeah, and I think you want to hear these three. The reason we're giving you these three mind shifts, they are kind of like 3 steps towards what's possible. You know, starting with the first one, just smart is no longer special. It's the entry point. That's where you can begin to sort of realize you have the power here to be able to get access to information that used to be the private preserve of certain professions. Now it's available to you. Step 2 is, understanding, I lost my point, but time is decoupled from value. That is the next step of AI tools to begin to increase your productivity. Then this third step that Dylan's laying out here is unlocking the gate to actually creating the bespoke tool you specifically need to run your organization and not having to squeeze your desires into the shape of XYZ mega corporation.
Exactly. Yep, and that's true. It is almost like in a step by step there with these 3 mind shifts. That's exactly right, and it should be exciting. I mean, I'm incredibly excited by number 3, especially because we've talked about this, Sam, but like I've had so many starts and stops with trying to learn coding.
Yep.
And it was not working for me. So, and like, I'm not going to go back to school and start over and, and do all of that just to learn how to build a calculator like that. But to be able to just create a simple solution for that is just the opportunities that opens up, especially if you're if you're a solopreneur or a nonprofit or something. It's like, oh my gosh, you could save $100,000 by not hiring somebody to build this website for you. Imagine the good you can do with that,
I mean, just case in point, we just launched our new website, parallaxpartners.co, and Dylan just built it from scratch.
Yeah.
We cut out the middleman and just built our own website because we can.
And I'm not a web developer, So just to reiterate, yeah.
But you are a designer. See, that's the deal. Is like, what it should look like, but you didn't have to squeeze that idea into somebody else's mold.
Yep, exactly.
It's a great website. Go there, check it out.
Exactly. So again, what does this mean for nonprofits and startups? You no longer need a developer to solve every problem. Like there may be some things that are super, super specific and okay, I'm not saying this is a panacea, but like odds are there are problems that are getting in the way of you accomplishing your mission right now that you can take off that plate and you can eliminate that block. So that's kind of what we're saying. Custom software is now within reach for small teams. So again, some examples: a CRM, volunteer tracking system, a fundraising dashboard. AI can help you create these solutions in minutes. I mean, literally minutes. So
yeah, and there are some also newer products that are upgrades from the older sort of, I'm trying to avoid using terms here, but like Notion is an upgrade from previous platforms because it connects to these new tools much more intrinsically.
Yeah, yeah, and I do think just in general, the trend is now moving towards that decoupling and
Mhm.
niche tools that you can pick and choose from, sort of a la carte, and have them work for you. So, you know, let your mind wander with that, and I bet if you're listening to this right now, it's starting to click, and you're like, oh my gosh, then maybe I could do this, this, and this. So,
Yeah.
if you need help with those, like, remember, we're here to help with that.
Yeah, draw it out, write it out, and we'll show you how to take those sketches and turn them into like actual products.
Actual solutions, yeah, that you can use right now.
So what's the key
So,
takeaway for number 3, Dylan?
key takeaway is AI and no code tools. By the way, I should have maybe defined no code and low code. Like, no code just literally means you don't have to code. You're not the one programming the code. It's either like moving little building blocks around to do it, or it's using natural language. That's what that means. So they let anyone build solutions. You don't need to be or hire a developer anymore. So let's recap the three mind shifts. Sam, do you want to recap these?
Yeah, smart is no longer special, which is your entry point. Is like the world is your oyster. Go try it out. 2 is time is decoupled from value, which means you can do things incredibly fast now. Fast is not always excellent. So it takes being a human with a real mind to produce excellence, but speed is now part of the equation. And 3, if you can dream it, you can build it, which means that, whatever you can imagine, there is a way to get there from here.
Exactly. Now, the problem though, so you might be tracking, you might be agreeing, being like excited about this. So the problem that we found is that, many people just don't know where to start. So they go, okay, I'm excited, I think, but I'm a little overwhelmed by all of these options, and maybe half of my mind is excited, but I'm also overwhelmed, and you just don't know where to start. What's going to help your specific situation? Moreover, you maybe don't have the time and the staff and the resources to take on a big project by like integrating this new stuff. So I don't know where to start. I feel overwhelmed, and I don't have the time to spend to integrate them and to get rolling with it. This is why we started Parallax Partners. So just cards on the table. This is exactly the need that we found. Just talking to many, many people, they said the same thing over and over again. I know I want to use AI. I know I should use it. It's going to help me, but I just don't know where to start. And so that's what we started this to do. We don't want to add any hype. We don't want to add hassle. We just want to help nonprofits and startups, solopreneurs, consultants, agencies, whatever your deal is. Like, you can use AI right now to make your life and work a lot better.
Yeah.
And so that's why we started this.
Yeah, and we offer a lot of these things for free. Like, this isn't a black box where
Yeah.
you don't know how it works. We're showing you how to build it as we build it. And we want to help you to become a co-creator. And so the reason why is because the horizon is always receding quicker than we can run to it. And the more that we can have a team of people alongside of us, that enables us to like move forward as well. So, we don't see it as overwhelming. We see as the opportunities expanding rapidly. But you need to start grabbing these tools that we have some skill sets in building in order for you to start operationalizing them to your teams, to your organizations, to get real wins. And that's why our next step from this webinar today is to offer what we call a quick wins call. And we sit down with you for 30 minutes. And at the end of that 30 minutes, you'll have both actionable items to start working on, plus a roadmap where you can start saying, okay, here's Dylan and Sam's insight into my particular problem. Here are the next steps I need to take so I'm not overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not struggling with too much information, but I know, okay, I need to set up an account here with this company. I need to walk through this, instruction sheet. I need to read this thing, watch this thing. It's laid out, it's mapped out so that you can start this process. And then I think we're also saying at the end of that quick wins strategy session, is this roadmap, but then it's also opening the door to our further collaboration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we want to be your partners as you walk along this. So we want to share what we've learned, and if you want someone to be on your team and to be rooting for you and to be sort of pouring into you in that way, that's what we're doing. So that roadmap is custom built for you and your unique needs and pain points and goals. So we found there are a lot of quick, practical, simple solutions that you can implement right away. And we want to help map that out for you so that in 30 days from you receiving that roadmap, you're going to be at the level of fluency. So no matter where you're starting from now.
And if you're not ready for that, we offer quite a few free things already. Like I mentioned earlier, we have a podcast called AI for Good that you can search, and it's on every streaming service out there. We also have a Substack called AI for Good by Parallax, where twice a week you'll receive updates and thought pieces based on what we're discovering, hacks that we've figured out. It's a very great resource if you're just trying to understand and get your head around what's happening with AI.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, like Dylan mentioned, on our website, you can find that free link to the 30-minute discovery quick wins call. Mm-hmm. And then after the webinar today, you'll receive an email with the link to this, this webinar so you could share it with friends. Yeah. As well as a link again to sort of our services for you to take the next step towards incorporating AI into your workflow.
Yeah, we'll send out the link to the recording, and yeah, definitely feel free to share this. We want just to sort of help as many people as we can kind of walk through these 3 mind shifts. Yeah. Great. Are there any other questions, Sam?
Yeah, one of the other questions was someone's curious about, where do you go to stay up to date on all that's going on with AI? That's like saying, where do I stand in front of the fire hose?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's a great question. I think you and I probably even have different answers to that question.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Where do you go?
Yeah, I guess I think I probably am absorbing things a little bit more organically because I'm more sort of, I don't really read news, AI news and things like that. The reason for that is I think that will get you swept up in hype situations and this next new deal. I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I like to listen to some of the people who are actually working in the field, talking about what their challenges are and things like that. That kind of helps me stay a little bit more grounded on solid ground. I'll be honest. Like, I think in 2022, I was on Twitter and I was following Twitter stuff. And to me, that was overwhelming. And I was like, I'm never going to be able to keep up with this. I don't even know what they're talking about. What the heck is this? And so, I sort of moved away from that model and more into, I will follow, I'll keep up to date with these like bigger, like OpenAI and Anthropic and Perplexity. And I'm like on their email list. So if they come out with a new product or something, I'm going to check it out, but I tend to like slower news like that than the faster ones.
Yeah, I think that's wise. Sort of this, I concur with the slower news versus the hype news. I have set a couple of Google alerts to certain keywords. Like I'm particularly interested in how AI is affecting SEO, what's now called by some people GEO.
Yeah, gee.
And so how to think about optimizing content for the new era where AI is reading everything is a particular area of interest. So I think niching down as narrowly as you're interested in is helpful. So it's more like taking a cup to the fire hose instead of just being blasted by it.
And I think it's almost like, I mean, this is why we're using these 3 mind shifts as the way of encouraging you to get started, because we didn't even talk that much about the technology, and that's on purpose, because I think it adds to the overwhelm in the sense of this is for a specific class of people. If you're trying to follow the newest, shiniest object too much,
Yeah, I mean,
but I think
I'm sorry, Dylan. I didn't mean to.
No, please go ahead.
So when we've been talking about what is Parallax, what is our business model, what we recognize is like AI is a gold rush. Right now, everybody and their cousin and their cousin's best friend is rushing to the hills on AI. But the way to actually create a sustainable model is to build the store that sells shovels to the people going out into the hills.
Mm-hmm.
So Parallax is really a shovel store. We're equipping you to go and mine effectively for the gold.
Yeah.
And we're not just also putting shovels on the shelf, we're actually testing them in the back. We're creating some bespoke products ourselves for niche applications. And so, but we're really AI agnostic as far as the platform. It's not like we're a XYZ shop, because what's happening is the developments are coming so fast and furious that there's almost always going to be a better mousetrap on the market. I know I'm mixing metaphors, but that's the way I talk. There's always going to be a better, cooler, shinier, newer thing to explore. But sort of going back to the original question, I think getting caught up in that gold rush mentality is actually antithetical to actually doing the effective work of mining.
Yes. And like tying that into these 3 mind shifts, like in order to use these tools effectively, you have to enter them with the right attitude about who you are, what your goals are, sort of the bigger picture and the strategic thinking that you bring to even using AI, I think makes a huge, huge difference. How many times have we heard people say like, oh, I asked it for quotes, for Solzhenitsyn quotes, and it wouldn't do it. Or like it made up quotes, and it's like, yeah, that does happen. So, but it's not for that, so instead, like what we're trying to do with this, at least as an entry point, is like helping you to think about, okay, I'm trying to tie it back into the gold rush. I'm like thinking about telling you how to think about where to dig. It's not working, but you get my point. Like how to think about these tools.
We're selling maps and expertise for you to do the digging that's necessary for your organization.
For your specific, for exactly what you're the goal that you're trying to get out of the ground. Like we're helping you select and use the right tools to do that, and like how to dig. Yeah. Okay. That's the end of the metaphor.
The convoluted metaphor. But the summary is, guys, we're here for you.
Yeah.
We're passionate about this stuff, but we're also passionate about you being successful.
Mm-hmm.
We're speaking from experience that we found this highly effective, fun. It gave us a new perspective on work.
Yep.
And we want you and your teams to have that same thing.
And you can do it.
You can.
I guarantee you can do it. There's no reason why you cannot. So don't come at me with these reasons. I'm just kidding. But but you should be encouraged that like anybody can do it. It doesn't matter how old you are or like how big or small your company is.
Yeah.
You can do it.
A 50-something and a 30-something figured this out. You can figure this out.
Yeah, exactly.
So You'll get an email. We'd love to hear from you. Please schedule a time with us so that we can have this conversation back and forth, and not just us to a blank room that we can't see your faces. We'd love to sit down with you face to face.
Thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you.
See you, Sam.
Bye.
See ya.